Well, according to my clock, it's about 9:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. How are y'all doing? Sleepy? Yeah, I can see we're kind of down on numbers this morning, but maybe they'll trickle in. Um, we're going to continue with Photoshop today, and I wanted to give you a couple of updates. The journal that was due on Sunday, I had the wrong open date. The due date was right, but the open date was wrong. So it didn't show itself to all of you until Sunday night at midnight. So I apologize for that. Um, anyway, so that means that the journal, the second week journal is open, and I'm going to not count off late. As long as you get it done by the time the next one is done on Sunday, I'll be happy because I want you to feel comfortable writing in that. I really enjoyed reading all of your things about yourself, and that was really great to know where everybody's from and your amount of experience in the Photoshop and the other Adobe products. Anyway, let's see, what is the other thing? I'll think of it. It's an early Tuesday morning. So anyway, I was going to tell you about the success I've had with recording in class. 3 videos, 2 are fine. One had a bit of a problem with sound, so I haven't exactly decided what to do with it yet. But I'm going to keep on doing it because so far I'm doing pretty good. Two out of 3 isn't too bad. All right, so we are going to be doing Photoshop again today. And today we're going to get on with some more advanced tools. But first, I would like to just kind of review what we did on Thursday. This is Tuesday, on Thursday. So we worked on cropping, taking out all that extraneous stuff to make a better looking photograph. I do want to warn you about cropping. I didn't say this on Tuesday, but whenever you're doing graphic art, you don't want to get your photograph cropped so close that you don't have any extra room around it. Because when you're using InDesign and you're creating books, you want to have a little bit of room. You can crop it in there too. So be easy with the crops. And then we learned how to touch up photos, clean them up, old photos or photos that have been uh, copied out of a book or whatever. We learned how to do levels. Remember, that's where you have that graph and you move the little cursors around, the little tabs around to make it so that it looks better. And you just have to go by what you like on your screen. Okay. Brightness is also the same kind of thing. And then we touched on curves. So um, I'm going to go over curves just a little bit more today so that you'll have a better understanding of it. Okay, so me. Oh, it's not in your way. I'm going to still move this thing. I'm recording this on Zoom, and so if of course it has that ridiculous self view, and the only choice I've got is, oh, well, there, I got it a little bit more. It's a little bit smaller now. It's going to be right in the middle of the recording. But here are the tools we're going to work on today. We're going to use the lasso tools. I'll teach you how each one of those work. And honestly, it's whenever you work in Photoshop a lot, you're going to choose your favorite. You're not going to use all of them. And some of them work better in certain situations. And we'll go over that. We're going to talk about the marquee tools, which basically is just drawing a box or a circle. Um, and we're also going to talk about some selection tools. And we're also going to get into some AI stuff because honestly, AI can do a good job of selecting the subject and that sort of thing. And so that's pretty much all we're going to do. We've got some things in the lab. We're going to mask some subjects and improve the photos by doing that. We're going to replace some skies. Sometimes out here in West Texas, we have the most beautiful skies in the world. And then some days we have the flattest skies in the world because we're so often without clouds and it just really looks flat when you take a photograph. So I'm going to show you how to maybe fix some of your photographs. And also we're going to do straighten again, which is different than the straighten we did with the crop tool. So I'm going to move on. Come on. All right, it's not going to let me do any. Oh, there's my cursor. There we go. Why is it not moving on? There we go. So we're going to just go right into the lab because a lot of this stuff with software, there's not a whole lot to lecture about. In my opinion, it's better to do it rather than just hear me talk about it. So we're going to kind of do a combination of both, but you're going to be working as we're discovering and talking about it. But what I'd like to do right now is I would like to take roll while all of you are downloading the files from Google Drive. So if you'll go to Google Drive, to that place where our files are kept, I will let you download those. And I think that it's kind of a big amount, so it might take a minute. Okay, so this is the 27th. Ryan, one of these days I'm going to know everybody's name. Sarah? Daniel? Okay. Charlie? Trevor? Okay. Let's see. I think I got Carolyn's not here because I think she had emailed me. Matthew? Okay. Tessa? Lindsay? Emma? Hunter? Bailey? All right. So have you got them downloaded yet? Still working on it? Okay, I'm going to switch my screen here. Okay, I'm going to stop the sharing. Going to go to week 1 photo advanced. Okay. Sure. Okay. So do all of you have it downloaded now? If you don't have it downloaded, raise your hand. Okay. Are you? Okay. I don't mean to rush you. Yeah, I know our internet is so slow here.
I do have it down. I'm just trying to put it on.
Yeah, and it takes a minute. I don't know exactly how large it is, but it took me a bit to get it up on Google.
So you want us to choose 3 from here and then?
Oh, right. I was looking at all those and I thought, I don't think we had that many in one, but we do. So you can just choose whichever ones you want to use. I just gave you some selections.
Okay, perfect.
I didn't want to just say this one has to go with this one.
Okay. It's
Just week 3. All right. Everybody to that point where that I can continue? Okay. Well, first I'm just going to review. And the reason I'm going to review is because I had a project this last week. It's part of the school reunion that I'm doing right now. I was visiting with some teachers, and there was we had these big class photographs, that have all the class members on it and the year really big on it and all that kind of stuff, all in the hallways. And a couple of them had been damaged by water. And it just so happened that it was my high school year that was one of the damaged ones. So I volunteered to not redesign it, but to recreate it and print it and give it to them so that they don't have to go through another graphic artist who will charge them hundreds of dollars. Anyway, long story short, I found myself working with some really bad photos. One year, ours, of course, was in black and white, but the next year was in color. And I don't know if y'all have had any experience with having a color photograph that's exposed to a lot of light, but they don't last. We're talking about 49 years out in the hallway with this constant light blasting on it. So they turned pretty purplish, reddish kind of colors, and they didn't look very good. So I found myself this weekend working with curves a lot more. And I found some things that I wanted to share with you because I've never really been a big curve kind of person because most photographs these days are pretty good. You just don't run into them very often. So I'm just going to do a couple of curves and y'all can you can do them along with me. So the first one is this curve right here. Let me move that out of my way, and y'all are seeing that now too. I just want it out of the way. Okay. So this really doesn't look so bad. I'm going to go to my adjustments and choose. Now, where did it go? There, no, there it is. I'm going to choose curves, which gives me this little chart here. All right. So I told you on Thursday to just go to the separate ones, the separate colors, the separate channels, they call them, and just kind of move these around. Well, that's not entirely all that I had to do because since this photograph's already pretty good, I really didn't have to do a lot of adjusting other than just the bottom. But up at the top, you see this line that goes across here. You just click on it and drag, and you can see how it's adjusting the color. See how you can go really drastic with it, and it really shows up. So I am adjusting the red on both sides of this line. So if you've got something that's really bad and you look at it and you decide it's really the red that's too much, you can pull down on it and get rid of some of that red. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to go to the green. And it really has a little bit, it has too much green also. So I'm going to pull it down, which is kind of causing a curve here. You don't want to have like something like this. That's going to look really, really strange. So just do a gentle curve to it. And then the blue, I'm thinking I can make it a little more blue. So let's see what we've got here. Let me move this thing again. Okay, so I turn off the eye and you can see that it's a deeper blue now. So I've made quite an adjustment without really changing the darkness and the lightness. I'm just changing just the color because levels works on the dark and the light and the midtones. So this works on the three colors that you're in with the RGB. So does that make sense? And I wish I could tell you that there's some kind of scientific formula that you can use to get it exactly right. But unfortunately, I don't have one. I'm sure that some brainiacs probably will tell you there's a formula, but really it's just what looks good on the screen. So that makes sense? Okay. Let's just do one more. Oops. And you can see I was doing some old photographs here. I really enjoy doing that though. It's really a lot of fun. I could be with a cup of coffee and a really rainy day outside, I could just sit and touch up photographs all day long. That's how much I like it. Okay, this one it's pretty bright and pretty nice and everything, but let's just look what happens when we play with the curves some. Okay, so RGB. I think I want more red in it. It just doesn't seem to have the deepness of red that sometimes you have in a sunset. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next one, green. Let's see what taking the green down really does help. So I've taken the green down below that's an average that goes all the way across. So I'm bringing it down from the average of the green. Okay, and then blue. Oh, blue needs to be much shorter. And you can just look and see which one you like better. I kind of like that right there. And you can see how much it changed. It made it such a bright sunset. Sunset. And so then you can go and you can start taking out highline wires and telephone poles and that sort of thing to make that a lot more pleasant of a photograph. Okay, so that's all I wanted to do in this one. Don't save. Okay. So next, let's see, I was doing curves. Let's do mask and add a new background. That's the next one. So mask subject and add a new background is the next one I want to do. So let's open that first one. And it's a bunch of fries. Did that one open in Photoshop or is that in, it looks like it may be in, it is in RAW. I thought I fixed all of those. I'm sorry. When I was working really on production a lot and doing a lot of photographs, I had it set certain ways so that it would open up in certain ways. And so I thought I got rid of all those, but here's yet another one. So when you click it and it opens up and it's in the camera RAW, just say open and it should just open up in Photoshop. I apologize. There's always one that sneaks through. Going to make that a little bit bigger. All right, so we have French fries on a pretty solid background. There's not a lot of garbage in that background. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my layers and I'm going to click off of my lock. So I have unlocked it. So now I can do all this stuff to it. So let's talk about the tools that I have up here. This first one is called the rectangular marquee, and it has one of those little triangles in the corner. So I'm going to click and hold. And so you see that you've not only got a rectangle, you've got an elliptical, and you've got a single row going horizontal and one going vertical. Now that single row is 1 pixel. I don't hardly ever use that because if I'm wanting to surround something, it's going to be more than a pixel, but you've got that option should that arise. So with rectangles, that's exactly what it is. If you just click and hold and pull, you can make it any size you want. However, I'm going to deselect that. If you hold the shift and do the same thing, press click the cursor and drag, it's making a square. That means that if you need a square that's the same on every side, you have to hold the shift to do that unless you want to do a lot of extra work. Okay, so deselect should be on your little tab here. Same thing with the elliptical. Sometimes you do want to have an oblong shape. If you hold the option key, I guess that would be, or the I don't know exactly what it is in PCs, but if you hold the option key and you move, then you go from the center and make the shape. So that way, if you have an oval and you don't exactly know how big you want to make it, you really can't move it so well whenever you've got it made. So you can, you can use that option key to grow from the middle. Okay, deselect. So that is those two. The lassos. You've got 3 selections with the lasso. And so I'm just going to start with the first one and go on down the line. Now this one is they call it the polygon or something like that. I think I turned off my little labels, but this one's like the polygon. I call it the poly just because it's easier for me to say. I get tongue-tied sometimes. So the way you use this one is you click your mouse and then you go to the next place that you want to continue a line in a different direction. So you click again and you click again, and then you get back over to where you started and you have this little 0. That's telling you that you're close to the end. You're close to where, well, I say the end. Yeah, it's the beginning actually, but you're about to close it. So if you get anywhere near that closing part, you can you can even go over here and double click and it's going to finish it. It's going to make a complete path. You can't do an incomplete path with this particular tool. So that's how that one works. And honestly, that's the one I use the most. And then we've got the lasso tool that is, it looks like the cowboy lasso. And with that one, I'm going to get a little closer here. It's not a click and then move to the next thing. You have to click and hold it and then kind of draw. And you can see I can't do that very well. So if you're doing some really odd shape, this is a really good thing to use, but you have to click and hold it. You can't click and then click again. And then it has the same thing where when it gets close, it'll click and close that path. Okay, so those are the two I use the most, but there is one more, and it would actually work on this one. It's the magnetic lasso tool. And the best way to explain it is you click and then you just drag it along something. It works great with things that have a really hard edge. So you just drag it along and it kind of makes those little click points, those little anchors for you. But if you get on something that's not so clear cut, then it kind of goes crazy. I tend to not use that one very much. But I want y'all to try those three on this nice little box of fries, which wish I had a box of those fries right now. So go ahead and use the different tools. Let's see. You don't have all of your tools. I'll be right back.
Like I click it. Open it.
Okay,
So
so just hit open. That was what I was talking about. So
Okay,
now it's in
okay, okay,
Photoshop.
okay.
Yeah, so I apologize. I thought I fixed all those. Okay, so you don't have all your tool. Oh, there's the lasso tool. You had a different one on the front. So just use some of those. And that's the thing about the tools. The last one you opened is the one that's going to be on top. So just play with those different lasso tools about selecting. Yes, ma'am.
Could you help me guys think to where I can find all the other
The other,
tools? for this?
okay, so here is your lasso
Okay.
tool. So it's whatever you open last is going to be on top. So
Okay.
they hide from you.
Okay.
So here's one of the tools, and then you just go over and select the other tools, and
Okay, so it just depends.
it really depends on what you're doing.
And what do we use this tool for?
For selecting subjects
Okay.
for masking. We're doing the first step of masking.
Okay.
We'll get to the next step in just a few minutes. So I just want y'all to try each one of those, and
Put onto something else.
or we'll hide the background and bring in something else.
Okay.
So it's kind of the
I'm
same
gonna
thing.
learn in this.
It's kind of the same thing. I know if you've never touched anything like this, it's just like a foreign language.
It's so foreign to me, but I'm trying.
Okay. So are y'all trying all the tools? Yeah, it can get away from you really quick. And what I would do is I just come back on the screen and just there we go. Now
Okay.
you can deselect it and you can use that little tag there. Yeah, I don't like that one. That's why I don't use it. We'll get, oh, you opened it up in a different.
It wouldn't have this bar unless I pressed open.
Okay, let's back up a couple of steps. Okay, so you're using the selection brush. Okay, so now we're back to where you were. So what I want you to do is to use one of these others, like the second one or the third one,
Okay.
and try those and see what happens. I mean, I just want you to feel it and see what you're selecting and how easy or hard it is to manipulate it. Yours is black and white.
Yeah,
Oh, I see. You're playing,
Yeah.
you're getting ahead of me. That's fine. I don't mind y'all doing that. I don't mind it at all. Okay, does everybody kind of understand the concept of the lasso tools? All right, good. So I'm going to move over to the tool. Let me get this. Like, I think most of you have a single one. I'm going to move it over so it looks kind of the same as what y'all have. The tool that I want to use next is the one that has a paintbrush with a circle around it. And there's several tools here. And this one I'm showing you right now is the quick select button. So it may not be the one that's on the top for your toolbar. So just below the lassos, open the next one. And their object selection tool is a tool that I haven't used very much. It's a relatively new tool. And the reason I haven't played with it very much is because there are other ways to do that too. And I just am more familiar with those other ways. But feel free to use that if you want to. So the quick selection tool, you get a brush. And remember on Thursday, we talked about brushes. We can go up here and we can change the size and the hardness and all of that kind of stuff. And that one is at 100%. I'm going to leave it there for right now. But you don't have to go up here to change the size. If you decide that that is too big or it's too small, then you can use the bracket keys and make it on the right. I mean, on the left, it makes it smaller. On the right, it makes it bigger. The reason I really keep stressing that is because whenever you're in the heat of doing a lot of photographs, you don't want to have to keep going up to the menu bar all the time. It takes a lot of time, and it wastes your time whenever you can just touch a key and make it go bigger or smaller. It's just more efficient, and it makes you like the program better. Okay, so I've got a pretty good size selection tool here. So I'm just going to click and hold it and kind of just skim over this. Okay, so that went pretty well. So I'm going to try the French fries now. And that's where it's going to get kind of dicey. It's not going to, it grabs a lot of stuff because the contrast between the French fries in the background is not good enough. It's not big enough of a contrast. Okay, so now I've got something that has the box really well chosen, but I've got some problems around the French fries. So still, that's a really good selection, and we can easily take care of that. I am going to show you one other thing because, like, for instance, here we've got some really big spots that are selected. And by the way, these little flashing lines, we call those marching ants. It's not really a technical term. It's just what all graphic artists, anybody who uses Photoshop, they call those marching ants because it kind of would look like ants if you were to take a really close look at them. But anyway, what that means, as long as you have marching ants, that means that it's selected, but it's editable. It's still active. You can do something to it. So I'm going to get really close in here. And I want to get rid of all of this white background. So first of all, I'm going to make my brush a lot smaller. And you notice that it has a little plus. It may not be, maybe you can look at your own screen, but right now it has a little plus in it. And that means that if you use it, you're going to add stuff. Like, for instance, see, I just added a whole lot more by one touch. So to take away, you have to do another key shift. You have to push the option button, and I don't know if you can see it changing. Well, it's actually changing at the top. There's a plus that's selected right now at the very top on that control bar, and there's a minus right next to it. So you can either push the option button or you could change up here. So I've got the option button pushed, and you can release it after you get started. And you can go in here and kind of subtract some of this stuff that you've done. Okay, not perfect, but it's better than that big field of background that it had selected. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more selection tool before we get started with this. It is underneath the quick selection tool. It's the magic wand. going to deselect all of this, go back so you can see what I'm doing. And this one works sometimes, but honestly, it's only a beginning point. It's not, it has kind of a rough finish. So I click out in the background and you can see that it pretty much selected all of the French fries. There are places that it didn't select very well, but that's definitely manageable. Okay, so I have it all selected. So one tool never really does the whole job. So now we need to get in super close and use one of our lasso tools. And I'm going to use the polygon, the poly one. There's the name, poly. And I'm going to click my option for minus. You see my little lasso has a minus next to it. I'm going to click, and then as soon as I get one click, I can let go of that and go all the way over here and click and click and click and double click. And I just added to it. Why did that happen? Okay, let's look and see. When you're adding and subtracting, you have to think about what you have selected. When I used that magic wand, I selected all of the background. So since I was saying minus on the background, it thinks that I want to take out the background. So what I really should do is plus. And it's something you have, I mean, no matter how much you've used these softwares, you always have to think about, what do I have selected when you start doing stuff like this. So if you want to select just the fries, you can go up to select and inverse. And it changes it. Did you see that? Let me go back. I did an undo to go back. You can see the marching ants on the edges of the photograph. So that means that all the background's chosen. But if I do inverse, which is Shift Command I for inverse, I guess, it's not doing it for some reason. Am I doing that wrong? Shift Command I. Shift Command I. There we go. Shift Command I makes you inverse. It changes from having the background selected to the object selected and back and forth. You can go as many times as you want. Okay, so now I've got just the object selected because I don't have any marching ants here. Although I can see a marching ant up there, I'll take care of that later. So let's go back and be really close. Okay, so I'm gonna choose this again. And I'm going to hold the Option key down so I have a minus. And now I'm going to click and click. And I'm going to just do this real quick. I'm not going to go all out here. And now you see that I've taken some of the marching ants and put it right against the edge of my object. So I want y'all to use that for a minute. I want you to use the magic wand and the quick selection tool and just play around with selecting things.
That's all right.
Okay, let me get around to the other side so I can look at that better. Okay, yes, that is the select. Well, click and open up the rest of that. Let me make sure you've got the right one.
Do I just click that little triangle? It's like, when I do it, it's just like a,
Okay, yeah, go go to the one below it. Okay, so quick selection is right here. it selects objects that the line where the objects are different colors and different values. You already got rid of the background, haven't you? Oh my goodness. Now you've got some experience, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, so it's fine. You're getting ahead of me. I don't want you to be bored.
Yeah, no, you're just messing around. So
Yeah, just do whatever you want to do. Oh, very nice. Fries in the sky. Western fries.
One, but I also had the lasso, but then I had to go back because I got. How do I, when you did the background stuff before you went and got the lasso?
Okay, you can work this way. I was just showing, I guess I probably showed too many things. You can change this so that, see, right now you've got the marching ants on the
Mhm.
outside. If you do inverse, which is under select, it changes it so that you don't have any, well, maybe just in the corners, but
Okay.
now the object is selected. You
Okay,
had the
and
back
then get the lasso and try
and
to.
then get the lasso and start
Okay,
trying.
so
Yeah, that one is a good one to do, but be sure and have your shift key whenever you, before you touch, push your shift key down. Oops, I'm sorry.
no, you're okay.
Okay, so if you want to take away something, have your option key pushed and then start clicking and getting rid of like that shadow.
Oh, my hands are not smooth.
Yeah, that's why I'm not crazy about that tool. My hands shift
So
around.
then- Well, I was pressing option and then.
Well, you can go down here so you can get that whole shadow and then just start coming this direction. And then whenever you get about where you want to go, just double click.
Option?
You can let go of the option
Okay.
and then just double click. Okay, so you were adding. It didn't get the subtraction. Let's try a different one.
This is so foreign to me.
Okay, so now we've got the poly one.
Okay.
So I'm gonna click option and now you can just go like this
Okay.
and you double click and it goes.
Okay.
But having that pushing down the option key is critical because it changes it from adding to subtracting.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Option key thing and like doing the like get the shadow out and stuff.
Okay, so right now you have the background selected. And the
Oh.
reason that you can tell that is because you have these marching ants on the outside.
Okay.
So you can go up to select. Oh, not that one. Just do an undo.
Oh.
Or maybe not. Okay, just say cancel. Okay, so go up to select on the menu and go to inverse. Inverse. And now now you've got the object selected. Now you hold the option key down and when you start.
Yeah.
Double click. Okay. Oops.
Uh,
Oops. So you can always go back and get that back.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right. Does everybody kind of understand how that works? Okay. Let me move this out. So I don't have mine selected as well as I want to, but I want to go ahead and go forward with it because really it's kind of like, it would be like having you guys watch paint dry, going in and clicking all those things. I mean, when you're doing it, it seems really interesting and you know, exciting, but whenever you watch somebody else do it, it can be pretty boring. So I am going to go forward. Now I'm going to move, you can slide these things up on the side, the panels, or you can even like close them so that you can have more space. Okay, so right now I've got one layer, but I've got a selection. So I am going to click this layer mask. It's right on the very bottom and it's a little black rectangle with a hole in the middle of it. So I'm going to click that one. And what it does is it puts black over everything that I had selected. I mean, that I did not have selected. The things I had selected are white and they show through. So it's kind of like a window that's really dirty and you wipe off a little center part of it. You can see what's within that little area that you've cleaned off and not see the rest of it. So that's how a mask works. So you have done something here that takes away a background. I mean, you can delete it. You can absolutely subtract every pixel on that photograph and you'll have a transparency below it, but you have changed the photograph. This is a non-editable, I mean, a non-destructive way to edit so that if you have to do something else and you want to go back to that background, you still have it because you can manipulate that, that mask. Now here we've got two different masks. I mean, two different things on a layer. So you've got to have the layer active. If you've got several layers active, I mean, several layers, you have to choose which one you're going to work on. It needs to be the active one because you have a hard time working on multiple ones. So the one that's highlighted is the one that's active. Now, if you've got 2 items or more on one of your layers, you have to choose which one is the active item on your layer. So we've got to have a highlighted layer and then kind of a frame around the piece, the item that's selected, that's active. So I'll show you what I mean. Like right now, I've got my French fries selected, and I'm going to take a regular brush and I'm going to move it over here, and I need to choose my colors. Yeah, I've got black and white. Okay, so I am going to start coloring, and you notice I'm not changing my mask. I'm actually putting color on my original. So you have to be really careful. If you're wanting to edit your mask, you've got to make sure that you've got your mask chosen. So you click on your mask, and now you can start doing this kind of stuff. And see what I'm doing here is I've got white on top, because down here it's a terrible way to do this, but because my screen isn't big enough. But right here you've got the top, the foreground is white. That means that it's cleaning more of that glass. Now, if you want to take away some of the stuff that you've got on there, you can either use these little arrows and flip it, or you can use the X. And I'm not sure why it's not working. Okay, so I still have the black. Okay, so I clicked the X key by itself, and now I've got black on top. And you can kind of see that. Let me see if I can get this to be a little bit smaller. Here we go. But it's not showing that. I'm going to make this again. I'm changing that back to two panels so you can see this better. So I've got black on the top, and I've got my mask selected, and that means when I paint on the mask, I'm making a bigger mask. Okay, if I want to change it to white and say, oh my goodness, I have something on here that I don't want to mask out, click the X and it changes. It flips the white to the top so that it's the foreground. Does that make sense? And then you can go in here and select this and fill it with white. Now you've got a nice crisp edge there. Okay. Are y'all following me pretty much? So you can change that mask as much as you want, is what I'm trying to say. Just be sure you've got the right thing active. All right. So I am going to bring in another photograph. Remember, there's a little folder that says, oh, whoops, cancel. I hit the wrong thing, cancel. I want to open another photograph. So mask subject and add new background. So these backgrounds, and I said 3. Oh, I see what I did. I didn't get rid of that JPEG. Okay. We've got 3 in here. So I'm going to just look at these backgrounds. And remember, I told you the other day that if you select it and hit the space bar, it gives you a preview. So you don't have to open. You can just kind of preview through all of these. So I think I've chosen the one I want to do. I want this one. So now you can just click that and double click and it'll open. So now I've got 2 photographs open. You can see on your screen that if you've got 2 photographs open, you've got one tab here and you've got another tab here. Now there's a lot of ways to bring in a photograph into to put another photograph in another layer in a photograph, in the second photo. Anyway, let me just show you. So I'm going to select all, which select all is Command A. So I select all, and then I copy, which is Command C. Then I go to the other subject and I say Command Paste, which is Command V, and I've put in another layer. Make sense? You can do other things. You can have both. You can have your folder open and drag and drop into your active photograph that you're working on. So, yes, you had a question?
To add.
Okay, so you've got 2 photographs, right? Mask.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, you don't. Yeah, you can use that one. So Command A to select it. That made me get the marching ants. Command C to copy it, and then click the mask subject again, and then Command V to drop it in. And I didn't select the right thing. Take me back over here. Get down to the background. Command A, Command C, and then go back to where, yeah,
And
then Command V. And now you've got a photograph.
Perfect. Thank
Okay,
you.
In just a second, I need to do a couple more things.
I've like had the flu the past couple of days and I feel like so nauseous right now.
Oh, you need to go?
Yeah.
Okay, please do. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I do that sometimes. So first of all, you've added another layer, so you don't need that. Gonna get rid of that. Oh, but you know what? Hit, no, I'm just gonna take you up here. Okay, so layer visibility. Oh, you've probably picked a lot of different things trying to get it back.
I was clicking around.
Okay, so now that's you added this and that went away. Okay, well, see, you've got the marching ants, and sometimes when you add the mask, it takes away the wrong thing. So the solution to that is to go up to select and inverse it. Okay,
So
and
these are
then you can just drop that in.
Okay.
So you can always undo. You've got that history, you've got the Control Z. Okay, has everybody been able to drop in another photograph behind? Okay. So on mine, and I noticed that some of yours weren't like this, but most of the time when you're working with Photoshop and you add another layer like that, the layer goes on top. I think some of you might have had layers already that you were using, and that's why it didn't do that. But let me show you what you need to do if your new layer is on the top of your fries. So you just have your layers open like this. You can click either one of them. I'm going to just drag the fries to the top. So you just click and select and drag. There's a lot of times you have to hold the click down. When you're dragging something, you have to hold the click down. Okay, so that's pretty much how you add a different background. So let's go to a different photograph now. I'm going to Don't save. Don't save. And now I'm going to open up. So let's do number 2. All right. So how many of you have been to Santa Fe or one of, I think there's several locations, but Santa Fe to the Meow Wolf? Any of you? You know, I had never gone to it. I always heard about it, and I was always thinking that it was really stupid and juvenile, and I didn't want to do it. But last summer, I went to Santa Fe with my grandson, and he wanted to see Meow Wolf. So we went, and honestly, I was overwhelmed. It's such a, I mean, it's not classic art. It's not like the native art that I always want to see when I'm in Santa Fe, but it is so overwhelming and awesome. I mean, it's just, if you get a chance, go. I would highly suggest that you do that. The reason I'm even bringing it up is because this is in front of the Meow Wolf. That thing is about 20 feet high. It's huge. It doesn't look very big there, but it really is. It towers way over everybody. But I thought that was an interesting shot. And I thought that would be really interesting to change the background on it. So I'm going to show you a different way to change the background. And it's going to involve this little AI down here. Here we're using AI. I'm just going to say select subject. And looky there. It did a pretty good job. It didn't even get the shadow. I mean, there's a few things in there. I just wanted to show you the hard way so that if you come across something that's not working with AI, you know how to go in there and fix it. But oh my goodness, why spend an hour tracing around French fries if you can do it in one click? I mean, seriously, I want you to know how to do both, but I want you to also know that you can do this. So this time I am going to go in there, and you can do the same thing. You can pick your lasso, and let me see what I've got here. I've got just the subject chain checked. So I'm going to use the minus. So hit option with my lasso and then click over here and get some of this stuff out of there. Okay, so that is how you do it. So I'm going to click and trace around. So why don't y'all do some of that too? Why don't you use that option, and then anytime you see a bunch of little marching ants, you know that those need to be cleaned up. So just go ahead and clean that up really quick, because that AI does a fantastic job. There, 2 or 3 years ago, it would have chosen the wolf, it would have chosen the shadow underneath and all of those cars behind, but now it's getting so sophisticated that it's doing a really good job. And the tools are there, so I want you to use them. All right. So all of them are good. You doing good over here?
I think so. Are we just trying to get rid of, what are we getting rid of right now?
Okay, looks like you have lost your do okay, yeah. Go to select subject again. Just say yes. Okay, now you've got everything.
Yes.
So let's just leave it at that for the
Okay.
next step. You
That's what I was thinking.
yeah, it's fine. No, you're fine. I just don't want to overwhelm you. I want you to get the overall picture instead of, I know you are. And honestly, I want y'all to know that in this class, I am not really grading for creativity per se. I'm not expecting all of you to be a fantastic graphic artist. If you are, I'm so happy, and I'm happy to share all the stuff I know with you, but I don't expect everybody to be on that page. I am grading for effort. As long as you're trying and you're coming to class and you're trying to do the things that we're doing in class, then you're making a good grade as far as I'm concerned, because I know all of you will not become a graphic artist. I mean, I went to school with graphic art people who wanted to be graphic artists, and I think maybe 3 or 4 of us actually became professional hired graphic artists. Yes, ma'am. Okay, you've got
I-
2 choices.
I
You
think
can
select.
you can either go here or you can do a Control Z. This one you can see how many steps you need to go back. Okay, so are we all ready to change the background or to get rid of the background? You can't find your lasso? Okay.
Oh, do you just hold on?
Yeah, you just hold it down.
Okay, so I'm
So-
I'm here trying to click the little.
Oh, no, you have to hold it. The triangle is just an indication that there are more tools. Okay. So am I okay to move on? Yes.
I highlighted it. I forgot how to get like. Just take it out.
Okay, so currently you have a mask and you've got that part selected.
Yeah.
Okay, go right here to where the little bucket is and say fill with black. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do this time, and I'm going to have to pull this down so y'all can see my screen better because of all this stuff I have. I'm going to press select and mask. And I am going to I got a thing that looks kind of like this. And you can see really quickly what I don't have selected. And this is really good for things when you want to really fine tune them. I'm not going to do all the masking here. I'm just going to show you what I do when I fine tune. Now about this particular method, you can, well, let me just go back. I'm going to say, okay, and I'm going to do it one more time. I've got my marching ants. And up here at the top, it says mask, select and mask. Now, of course, here we've already used that select the subject, but now I want to do it at a different level. So I'm going to hit select and mask, and it opens up this window. Now with this, let me see. Yeah, here we go. You can change this color to make the view different. If you like it better like this, or with the marching ants, if you're more comfortable, you can put that kind of a view. I use that view for several reasons, and maybe it'll make sense to you guys. I like having something that's going to obviously be visible, but I don't want it to be black, and I don't want marching ants or an onion skin or any of those things. I want to be able to distinguish what's masked. Second of all, whenever I first started in this industry, that was the color that we used for masks because we did masks by hand. We would cut them out with an X-Acto knife and peel off what we wanted to show through. And that stuff was called Rubylith. You probably will never run into that word again, but that's the color of Rubylith. And so I feel comfortable and at home with that color. So that's why I use it. Okay, so what you can do to make this a little bit better, I want to get in really close into one of these places. Oops, not what I wanted to do. Okay, just a little bit closer. You can see there's a really hard edge here. And I have found that when you mask something and you have a really super hard edge, it shows up any mistakes that you've made a lot more. So I like to come down here and feather 2 pixels. This is the one I found that works the very best for me. So I just feather 2. And then you can do other things here, and we'll get onto that later, but I'm not going to show you any of those. When we do the next one, we're going to work on these tools, but I'm not going to do that on this one. So I'm going to say, okay. And all it's done is really kind of made the mask a lot finer. Okay, so now I'm going to add my mask by clicking right there on the bottom of the layers, just that little mask. And you can see that I've got some stuff on there that I don't want, but that's okay. We're just showing things here. We're not doing perfection today. So now I've got another image that I want to put a background behind. Now, I told you that you can drag and drop, you can copy and paste, all of those things, but I want to show you one other way. And that is by going to the file, you come down to place embedded or place linked. What do y'all think embedded means? Any guesses? It stays. That's a good point. Embedded means that it's part of the file. It means that like all the pixels that you are embedding in there are going to add to the size of the file. So it's all encompassed. It's embedded. It's all together. They're together. So the other one is place linked. Now that means that that other photograph, the background that we choose, is going to actually live somewhere else, the actual original file, and it just has a little address, a little email address, a web address, whatever you want to call it, that shows this file where it is to get it, so that if you were to print it, it would print this one and have to grab the information from the other file. If this file and the other file get separated, let's say you change the name of this file or you change the name of the other file, then, or it's on a different computer, then it's not going to show up. You're going to have an error. So even though it's going to be a bigger file, my preference is to place embedded. And the reason for that is because it takes away all the guesswork. If you were to send this photograph with a linked photograph in it, and you didn't get them all together to give to the printer or whatever, they're not going to be able to print it to make it look right. So I would rather have a little bit extra size on my file than to have this file that's out here loose. Okay, so what kind of background am I going to choose? I want something that is very much like that wolf. And that whole place is so weird. It needs to be something really weird. I was hoping one of you guys had been there so you could pick one. Okay, I think I know which one I'm going to choose. And y'all don't have to choose the same one. So I'm going to choose this one. I'm going to double click on the actual and see it places it right on top. And now that's linked. That means that suddenly our file size is doubled, but that's okay because they stay together. It's like they're married. They're just dating if they're linked. I'm trying to think of ways to explain that. So I'm just going to move my wolf on top and then go to my image, the second image, and I want to make that bigger. I want it to be all the way behind the wolf. So I could just grab it with this and pull on it, but I'm going to show you a different way that you can actually have some measure of control over it. So I've got it selected. Command T makes it look a little different. And it gives you some things that you can do over here, but I'm going to show you where it is on the file because you've got lots more choices than that. So, I mean, edit, it's on edit. Go all the way down to transform and see all these things you can do. You can scale it, you can rotate it and skew it and warp it and all kinds of things. I think I'm just going to scale it to begin with. So right now I've got 100%. And this is locked. My little key is locked. The width and the height are both 100%. It's locked. That means it's in perspective. It's going to get the same size proportionately. I'm going to say 200%. And so now I've got a really big file here. Okay. Questions? There's a lot of stuff we can do with this at this point. If you go up here to the layers and you've got that background selected, you can make it a lot dimmer. You can make it just sort of dim. Or you can double click it and you've got all kinds of selections. me cancel that again. All you do is you take the file and you double click it. Oops, not on the name. Double click it. And now you can do all kinds of things. You can make it change colors. Let's see if I can move that over. Let me do something that'll be really different. It's really not making much of a change there. Okay, I think I see why. Here is something that we didn't discuss. It's a smart object. When it has a little paper on the side like that, it looks like it's a little piece of paper with the corner flapped over. It's a smart object. We're not going to really get into smart objects because that's a little more complex than I want to get in Photoshop. But what that basically means is it holds its resolution. You can't edit it, you can't do anything to it, but it holds its resolution when you change the size of it. So it has a really good purpose, but for right now, I don't want it to be a smart object. So the way to treat that is to go up to Layer and Rasterize. Remember that word raster? I'm taking it from a smart object, which it's treating itself as if it's a vector, and I'm changing it back into a raster smart object. Okay, now I'll be able to do a lot more stuff to it because it's editable now. So I can change this to, let me change this to something else. Sure. And it's still not changing it like it should. Okay. So I just did an undo. So now you see that little on your layer, there's that little paper with the corner turned down. That's the symbol for a smart object. And like I was saying, a smart object can't be edited in Photoshop. You can make it bigger or smaller, but you can't edit it. It tries to keep its same resolution. I don't know how it works. But anyway, if we want to edit, and we do, you just have that layer selected, go up to Layer on your menu file, and go over to Rasterize and choose Smart Object. Usually what you can't do, what is not available is grayed out. So you can only choose Smart Object. Okay, so now it's gone away. That means that we can go in and we can make edits to this. Okay, makes sense? Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the next one. So let's just delete this one. Don't save. And I'm gonna open. Oh, come on. Okay, let's go to number 3. So this is one of my cats. This is the grumpiest cat you will ever meet. She doesn't really meow. She kind of grunts and she'll hiss really loud and growl. But she's really a sweet cat. She won't hurt you at all. She just doesn't know how to meow. She complains. Okay, so I'm going to use, again, this select subject because I just want her to be selected and she's on a pretty dark background, so I'm going to just do that. So I'm going to pick select subject, and I think it did a pretty good job of it. Let me move this down. Okay, so, this is a really good example. I was about to say, where's my box? I've got the subject selected, but look at what tool I have selected. I have the Move tool selected, which means that it's not the kind of tool that has any masking abilities. So let me choose one of these. Let me just choose like this one. And now all of a sudden, notice Select Subject and Select Mask are showing up here. They don't show up when you've got that one chosen or any of these others that are not affiliated with masking. But when you get one that's masking, like you can pick areas, you can select things, then the select and mask shows up. So I'm going to click that. And so now we've got that Rubylith color over the photograph. And you can see that some of the whiskers are not open. So if we were to mask it, there would be a lot of whiskers and a lot of detail that would be gone. So first I'm going to do my feather. I'm going to do 2 points. And then I'm going to choose the quick selection tool is not what I want to choose. It's this one. It's the second one on the top here. Refine Edge Brush. A lot of people call that the hairbrush. And the reason they do that is because it helps define those hairs on a mask. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to get a lot closer. And I'm going to get a much bigger brush here. Notice on this edge here, you can see, oops, too big of a brush. And it's still, oh, because it changed the brush back. I had the wrong tool. That it's wonderful having a Control Z because sometimes things get clicked or they go back, they revert and you don't realize it. Okay, so that isn't close enough. Let me get really close to this little kitty. Now you can see right here where it's the red is overlapping these whiskers. And I'm going to go in there with this hairbrush and click over them and notice how it's cleaning it up. You can click and drag it, or you can just click on top of it and just clean up. Have you all ever seen one of those photographs where there's like somebody that their hair is blowing in the wind and there's some kind of background behind them and you know that they've changed the background, but you don't know how they got all the hair there? Well, this is how they got the hair in that they selected. So you can go in and you can fine tune all of these little areas. And it's not taking away the mask on the background. It's just taking away the mask that's covering up the hair. So I want y'all to play with that for a minute. Because the bottom line is we want it to make it look like it's real and not photoshopped. It does a really good job. That's another thing I could do all day. Alrighty. Yes, sir.
How do you make it red? Like the mask?
Okay, right now you've got it chosen as pull this down. You can go all the way to the top, view mode. Okay, pull this down. You can change the way it looks right there. Is that what you were wanting?
Yeah.
Okay, I just like that contrast. There's just something that really works for me. Sorry, you already know all this.
It's actually this stuff I've never done like this.
Mhm.
There's like a million ways to do it.
There are, and there might be better ways to do it,
Yeah,
but this is just the way that I do it.
yeah, no, but this is more thought out than I would do. I would just usually mess with it.
Well, see, I've discovered this whenever I was going in and like using a clone tool, not a clone tool, a lasso tool to get
Mhm.
these little
Yeah.
fine details. And
Yeah,
all those hard lines were just not working for
that's
me.
usually what I would do. So this is definitely the more professional.
And it's real subtle whenever you use it, and it doesn't look like you've cut it out with
Yeah.
so. Do you use InDesign?
I've been,
Okay, good. Then I can teach you
Yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, good. Well, you'll like InDesign, I think. Okay, so
I
how are
like
you
that
doing?
one. I got it pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you could work on it forever.
Yeah,
That you can.
but
Some people get lost in the pixels, but I think you've got the concept of it. Y'all doing okay over here? Yeah. You got it? Looks like you got it, and you do too. You got it?
I couldn't figure out how to get the red on the background, but.
Pull this little tab right here and it gives you choices.
Okay.
And you don't have to use the red. It's
Okay.
not more effective or anything like that. It just visually it helps me.
And then when I go in, how do I move around zoomed in?
You can. Let me,
I am getting like the hang of it more.
okay, so you can click the space
Mhm.
bar and then you can
Okay,
move.
perfect.
I
But
wanted to
we're
make
just trying to get rid of the dark, right?
like the red on top of the hairs,
Okay,
the whiskers.
I think I got it.
Okay, good. Perfect. All right, so now I'm going to just save that. I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to choose my my mask. So I just clicked the mask and you can see that it's not perfect. We could get it perfect, but I'm just trying to get kind of get all the fundamentals down. So I'm going to add a background. So I am going to place it. Let's see. Place. And I'm going to pick something with clouds or something. She looks like she has her head in the clouds. Oh, that's the one I'm going to pick. And it looks like I'm going to have to make that one go that direction and just make it a little bigger. Okay. So, does everybody get that one? That cloud kind of works with the sun or the light coming down on top of her head like that. You know, you can just do things to photographs all day long, and I love working with this kind of thing. All right. Don't save. So the next one is replace sky. Okay. So replace sky is AI all the way. Let me just open this up. Oh, crap. I didn't change those. So it's going to open in RAW. So just click open and it'll open in Photoshop. Going to close that for a minute. Okay, here we have one of those. This was in Big Bend. And look how flat that sky is. You know, it's not that, I mean, the color isn't that bad. It's a little flat, but that background is just so plain. So you could spend what we just did with all of those hairbrushes and stuff like that. We could go in there and we could mask it and do it ourselves, bring in another photograph and exchange the background and try to make it look a little more interesting. Or we can use a thing called sky replacement. Go to edit. It's the second one on the left and go down to sky replacement. Have you all found that? Yes, ma'am.
On my screen. I like
Oh.
click out of it. I don't know how I got there.
Say get started. Just click on get started. Okay. And then just hit okay. And now you've got, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Camera Raw is one of those things that once you use it, it's kind of like Lightroom. Once you use it, you really love it. And you're already ahead of me. You're a graphic artist too, aren't you?
No, she's good over here. She acts like she's not, but she knows what she's doing.
Yes, she does. I can tell by looking. Okay, so let's go back. I'm going to go back up to edit. So I'm talking about the top menu on your screen, edit, and go to sky replacement. It's kind of almost at the bottom. Has everybody found that? Okay, I'm assuming you did. And so you have this little selection. You get to choose some stuff here. If I can get it to come down. Okay, it's not going to let it come down. So I'm going to go through several different skies. They have a lot of selections, and you can add your own skies to it if you have some sky photos that you really like and you want to use. But let's just play with the ones that are here, like sunset, or, oh, I love that one. Let's use that one. So, okay. So I'm going to say, okay. So it's there. That's how fast it is. Let me open the layer up and show you what all you've got now. When you started, you only had just a little, they had that one layer, and now you've got all of these layers. Amazing. And it's so intricate. I mean, look at that top one, that top mask. It's gone in and selected the really tiny little cactus blooms and made them so that it won't show, the sky won't show through it. And it has lighting, and see, we've got a whole bunch more stuff too, edge lighting and all that kind of stuff. And it did it that quick. Okay, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to go to a different one. And this time I'm going to try and get this so that I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Because it's real time. It changes it real time. Okay, you can kind of see the edge of the photograph there. So I'm just going to choose spectacular. See how fast that is? It hasn't put anything on your layers yet. You've still got just the one layer, but the preview is there, and it takes just 1 second to do it. So now I'm going to say, okay, and boom. See how fast that is? Oh my goodness. I can't tell you how many times I replaced a sky behind the administration building because it was a plain, flat, uninteresting sky. And then I put another sky behind it. But, you know, it was a lot of going in there and masking. But now you can do it in practically real time. So that is, just play with some of those different ones because it's absolutely amazing. It's hard to choose just one. I just hope y'all are half as excited about it as I am. When I first discovered this, I just nearly fell over backwards. I couldn't believe how fantastic it was. And I thought of all those lost hours that I had doing the same thing by hand. So you can choose anything you want. You could, like I said, you can add your own photographs. I have not added any because I don't really use this very much, but it's fantastic. AI at work right here. Just to let you know. Okay, so does everybody have kind of a feeling for this one? All right. I'm gonna not save that one. Gonna replace this guy in the second one. Now this is White Sands. Have y'all heard of all these different places I'm talking about? Anybody been to White Sands? I love it. Don't go in the summer though. You will get a sunburn like you will not believe. Okay, so I'm going to change this. This is okay, but I'm going to change it just to show you I can. But whenever you're doing this for real and you have a client or your boss or something, don't use some kind of sky that you know obviously doesn't fit with the location of the landscape or the person. Try to be realistic about it. But whenever you're just doing this, you can have all the fun you want. Okay, I'm going to choose. Now this one is not going to work as well because it has some extra stuff here. So you can tell at the very, very bottom of this one, you can see that it has some rocks, and those rocks show up really fast. So you know that they're not going to be perfect because I've got a landscape and I'm putting a vertical picture in it. So it's not really working that well. I think I'm going to do this one. And okay. So you can make your own scene. That's kind of what I'm leading to here, because we're going to have a project on Thursday where we are going to make, I call them montages. To me, that's the better name than collage, although they're very similar. We're going to be putting different things together. So anyway, I hope y'all will really enjoy that particular class. So have all of you chosen a different photograph, a different cloud system? Yep. You doing okay?
Yeah.
This part is fun, isn't it?
This part, I'm like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, it's amazing what AI can do for you. Very good. You're just doing all kinds of different choices. All right, let's go to the next one. Uh, we haven't done. Okay, here's one. I was trying to, and this one is also going to open it in Camera Raw. Just say open and it'll open it up. Now this one is a really sad photograph. This is Corpus Christi, right on the beach. And it was a really dreary day. The clouds were, it was really overcast and everything was really gray. This is a color photograph. If you want to, you can play with the colors of it. It's just sad how very let's put a level on it. So you can see it is mainly in the midtones here. So I'm going to bump it up a little bit. See, when you start adding a little bit of contrast to it, you can see that the water's actually not gray. Anyway, that's not the point of this particular exercise. Okay, so I'm going to replace the sky on this one too. So I'll go up to edit, replace the sky, and just pick one that you think will work really good with that particular. Oh, that's kind of nice. Doesn't really fit because you notice the foreground is way too light and there's not any of the colors reflecting in the water. So they didn't do the best job here, but still it's a lot better than it was. So just pick another photograph. I'm going to pick another sky to put back there. Oh, that's a good choice. I like that. And that's a good choice. Really, all of them are good choices.
It's a rainy day.
Yeah. And that,
I just added to the thunderstorm.
I don't know why, but it seems like every time I'm at a beach, that's the kind of day it is. Yeah, I'm not a beach person, so I don't go very
You know
often.
what? This was Port Aransas, right?
No, it's Corpus Christi.
Oh. I went to Corpus last spring break and it was
Spring break is a
no
terrible time.
sun.
I was not, it wasn't spring break, but I was in Myrtle Beach and it was the same kind of day. You know, the only thing that was moving around were the seagulls.
I mean, I don't even go anywhere for spring break in Texas anymore.
Now, I don't really like the beach. Yeah.
You have to go to like Mexico.
I would rather go to the mountains.
Really?
That's where or the desert, one of the two. Very good. I think everybody's got a handle on this. See, y'all are already making beautiful images in Photoshop. Okay. And straighten is the last one. Now this will be something I'm going to let y'all finish. I want you to go through the whole thing. And of course, it's opened in RAW. So hit open, and now it's in Photoshop. Do y'all ever take photographs that are angled like this? Really, speaking as a graphic artist, if you're taking photographs for somebody who's going to have to use this in a newsletter or something like that, don't do that. One year, I used to work for housing here on campus, and all of you probably lived in the residence hall the first year, right? Pretty much everybody. Well, there's this big day, the first weekend, where that they move everybody in. And COVID kind of changed it. It's not nearly as spectacular as it used to be. But back in the day, it was a really big thing. There'd be like 10,000 people on campus in one day. It was kind of a madhouse. And so one of my assignments as being a marketing staff in the marketing department and a graphic artist, I had to take photographs of families. So I would take literally two or 3,000 photographs in the weekend. So we would hire people to help us because this is a big campus. I couldn't cover the whole thing. So we would hire these people to do photographs the same as I was doing. And there was this one guy, didn't know who he was, but every photograph, he turned his camera. And I was like, I can't use any of these photographs. So I had to learn how to make something like this usable. But long story short, don't take photographs like this unless you take a gazillion. Then if you want to do one sideways, great, as long as you have some regular shots. And this is Shiprock, by the way. Have any of you heard of Shiprock? It's over in the very northwest corner of New Mexico. It's kind of really close to the Four Corners area. You can tell I love to go to desert places. Okay, so this one, what you need to do is first click the I can't even talk now, the crop mark thing, and go up and choose the straighten button and come over here. And the only thing straight on that you can tell that is the only place you can tell what it's really what it needs to be is the horizon. So just draw your little line, click and pull, holding the click. And then here's where you have to get kind of creative. So, nope. Yeah, hide bar for a minute, hide bar. Okay. So you can pull this open and make it so that you've got a little more of the image, but you're still, if you have much of the image, you're going to still have a lot of corners that are just blanked out. So let's say, where is my, okay, I'm going to hit return. Okay, so return, and it gets it pretty straight, but then I've got these big blanks on these two corners. So we're going to go back and use our clone tools. So first thing I'm going to do the non-editing, the non-destructive editing. So I'm going to pull this up a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to make a layer that goes on top of the bottom layer. I'm going to choose my clone stamp tool and make sure that up here on my control panel that it has current and below. All right, so I'm going to make a really big, I'm going to get this closer. I'm going to make a really big clone tool. So I'm going to click and start doing this and filling it in. And remember, you have to push the option tool before you can pick the color. Okay, so that was kind of okay. But now what I want to try and do, and let's see if I can open back up. There, it's the contextual selection bar. If you've lost it and you can't find it, go to Window, and it's at the very bottom. So you can see that it's really at literally the bottom of that list, and you can turn it back on. So I'm going to choose this area right here in the corner. And let's see what it does with generative fill. Oh, nope, cancel. So let's try content aware fill. So click the bucket and go up to content aware and say, okay. Okay, so it says there's not enough source. Well, I didn't try that before. I was just using the clone tool. So now we find that there is a limitation to what AI can do for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to my clone. Oh, I know why it didn't work. I had it on that layer that I created. So let's try it one more time on the background layer. Let's see if I can select all this now. So generate fill, no, we want content aware. And say, okay. And oh my gosh, it just filled it in. That is pretty amazing. I was really sad when I thought it wasn't going to work, but it does work. So what I want you to do is, and you can do that content aware on both of the corners. So just select with one of your lasso tools, that area that you want to fill. And you can just, you don't have to be exact, just click in the general vicinity of it. Do y'all hear that beeping? That's going to drive me crazy. So do you have it all selected now? And go to the bucket and content aware. It's the top one. And then just say, okay. And it did a pretty good job. You might have to go in, oops, you might have to go in and touch it up just a little bit on the top, but for the most part, it filled it. But definitely try it on the grass. It's got to be the background layer.
I did it with the one where you type in something. I said match the background.
Okay, that's whenever we create new art, is that generation thing, the generate thing. So
So I'm on the.
so why don't you say Control Z a couple of times? I'm sorry, I mean Command. I said Command Z a couple of times. Okay, so now you've got sky. Okay, you've got, stop right there. So now go to the bucket and pick content aware and say, okay. And it's still selecting, it's still making that. Oh, okay, so now back up one step and now try it. Perfect. There you go. You got it?
I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of like just layer.
What I would do is I would just you've got so many different things. That's why I liked having just the corners because
Yeah.
it's a little, makes it a little easier. But what you could do is just select like to where the grass is and just see if you can if it'll fix it that way. So use one of your either your marquee tools or your lasso tools.
Okay.
And just select right this open space.
Right here.
Yeah,
Oh, I will lift that up.
it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect.
got it.
And so here, the bucket and content aware, the top one, and say, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you could probably use a marquee tool and get it so that it's exactly even. Oh, that's a nice crop.
Why would it's,
Hmm?
or-
Why didn't it just, well, go ahead and click.
yeah, it's like,
Oh, because you've got so many.
yeah,
I
I kept them on.
wow. It should work. Dadgummit.
It worked earlier.
Okay. I've really never dealt with content aware very much, but the more I use it now, the more I like it. It was really bad in the beginning when they first introduced it. Oh, that's good. Okay. I think you've got it.
So how do I get this?
Okay, so you need to get on this bottom layer and just say, okay. And now just draw a line here.
My goodness.
And it doesn't have to be perfect.
Can you double it?
Well, actually, you would want to go around it
Okay. Oh, okay.
and then all the way up and close it, just double click. Okay, then choose the bucket, content aware, and say okay. And it did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I'll get the hang of it. Thank you so much.
Mhm. Looks like you've got the hang of it. And you also, very good. And I think you got the hang of it too. Okay. I believe that's all of our lab exercises. Let me just double check because sometimes I do miss something. Okay, that is the last one. So does anybody have any questions about things that we did today or even last Thursday that you'd like me to clarify? Okay, y'all can always ask me. I'm available. Usually I try to get them posted on Mondays. And yeah, wait till Thursday. You don't have, I don't want you to take a lot of time thinking about the journals and making it a really stressful thing. I just want you to sit down like on Sunday or even Friday, as early as Friday, and just sit down and just kind of think about the week and how it went. That's really what I want you to do. I'm not gonna grade on grammar and stuff, although try your best to do good grammar because it's a good habit to stay in to do complete sentences and stuff. But anyway, I've been looking at your work, so all of you've done the work, so you don't have to turn anything in here. I'm just glad that all of you seem to really be following along really well. I'm glad. If I ever leave you or if I'm ever going too slow, either direction, you let me know because I can speed it up or I can slow it down. Okay, so on Thursday, we're going to work on a montage project. And then next week, we're going to get into Illustrator.